What draws people to equestrian homes? From bridle paths to property, in this episode of In Conversation With, we discover what it takes to sell and take on these remarkable properties. I'm Rosie Rickett and I'm here at Ladieswood House in Wiltshire, set in glorious pasture land with incredible equestrian facilities. And I'm joined by one of its residential riders, Lewis Carrier, to discover what draws people to an equestrian lifestyle. Hi Lewis.
Hi Rosie, how are you doing?
Really well, thank you. How are you?
Yes, no, really super, thank you so much. Yeah.
Good. Thanks for having me here today.
No, an absolute pleasure. Thanks for coming.
Well, you clearly have an amazing passion for horses and a real talent for riding. Tell us a bit more about how you got into this line of work.
I started riding when I was about 6 or 7. There was a local riding school and that's kind of how I got into it. My parents then got me a pony, which we kept on a livery yard, not too far away from our family home. And I was very lucky then to find a really super dressage trainer. As a family, we invested in a really smart dressage 4-year-old, and then he's now turned out to be my Grand Prix horse, who is a possible prospect for the Olympics.
So I think when combining country houses and equestrian passion, getting the basics right is a must-have. For you, what are the basic things that you require?
I think the basics are sort of your space for field, turnout for the horses, good drainage, fencing if it's available, possibly a surfaced arena. But I think right at the top range for a professional who's really running it as a career, I think an indoor school, a horse walker potentially, an outdoor arena, and really, really good stabling. I suppose you have to have super good access for possibly bigger lorries. Or even smaller ones on a smaller property. So typically, what do your clients come to you that are looking for in an equestrian property?
Well, it very much depends on the client and their requirements. For the more sort of recreational rider, a family that may have a few horses would definitely want some land for the horses, a nice area possibly with nice outriding, good hacking facilities and access to bridle paths. The type of land is always an important consideration, and while that may not impact a total decision, it's important to consider things like in the winter, if ground's going to get quite wet, is that a factor for turnout, for potentially mud fever for horses? So that's also always a conversation we will have. And then down to the actual facilities themselves. What are the basics? Is there electricity? Is there running water? Hot water, cold water? All these things are things that buyers will think about.
Sure, and I suppose there's different types of ground as well for paddocks and for fields.
Yeah, absolutely. You have pasture land for sort of year-round turnouts, and also sort of individual paddocks, thinking about the actual nutrients within the ground, especially when you come to a more professional way of doing things. That then becomes really important when you're potentially looking at feeding regimes for horses, what hard feed they're getting, and ensuring that the grass that they're eating and the food that you're giving them is all a good balanced diet for the horses. It would be great to have a look around the facilities here.
Yeah, no, of course. Let's go. Let's head to the indoor arena.
Brilliant. Thanks, Lewis. Well, we're here in this incredible indoor arena. Which horse do we have with us here?
So this is Diego. This is my top horse. Had him since 4 years old. He's now 16 this year and is hopefully going to be on the reserve list for the Olympics this year.
One thing people will come to me with is how they might be able to increase the value of their property. And just looking around, it's immaculate here. And the maintenance and safety must be such an important factor for you when running a yard. So what do you do to ensure that your facilities are kept to a really high standard?
Yeah, I think when you have a lot of facilities, it's going around and making sure that they all stay pristine and spick and span. Yeah. I think it's keeping fencing up and making sure that any repairs that need doing are good, and the fencing is really good. If there's a lot of sort of horse lorries coming in and out, a lot of traffic, then keeping the roads in and out really good. Any potholes that need filling, sort of sorting that out and keeping the shingle really nice. And I think just keeping, if there's an indoor arena, really clean and tidy, any cobwebbing that needs doing, any sweeping or any repainting of stabling, just really making sure that it all stays really nice and tidy and as new as possible.
Yeah, well, I mean, first impressions are so important, and certainly here the impression as you come down the driveway and you see how well kept everywhere is, it really does make an impact.
Absolutely, thank you. And we really try and keep on top of it.
Where should we go to next?
I think let's go to the outdoor arena.
Lovely, great. It must be an absolute joy to be based here with these incredible facilities. And I think for so many equestrian enthusiasts, having your horses at home is the absolute dream. For me, I grew up through my pony club locally, and I think there's a real sense of community within the equestrian industry. Do you think that's something that draws people to the sport?
The lower level stuff for sort of younger people and younger families, pony club 100% is a massive sense of community, and there are little hubs around the country, especially sort of Cotswold area, Gloucester, for sort of dressage, and then your little hubs for your eventing and jumping.
And so what factors did you consider when trying to decide where to base yourself?
So there are different hubs around the country for equestrians, like sort of Lambourne, Newmarket for more racing, and there are the main big events for eventing, obviously Burley being more east of the country and Badminton being not too far away from us here in the Cotswolds, and dressage also around sort of the Cotswold, Midlands area. Where do you see your clients looking for equestrian properties?
Our national equestrian network covers the breadth of the UK. There's definitely always a demand for equestrian properties, especially properties with facilities there. As I said, people to have their horses at home is a real desire. Being close to an equestrian centre for training is always a great pull.
Yeah.
And somewhere where there's access to lovely outriding. We have equestrian buyers that want to specifically be near the beach to ride their horses on the beach, or out in sort of open moorland, especially to have access onto bridle paths is really important.
Before you go, I'd love to show you where Diego and the stables are.
Brilliant, let's go. Thank you so much for your time today, Lewis. It's been a pleasure to see the facilities here at Ladyswood House, and thank you so much for your insight into what people are looking for when they're drawn to an equestrian lifestyle.
No problem at all. Hopefully this has helped you and your viewers. What have you taken away?
I think certainly the maintenance and how important it is to keep everywhere in really good order. The location and how that's a real factor for each individual buyer and individual disciplines, and just the sense of community and how horses do bring people together.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more, yeah.
Thank you for joining us at Ladyswood House. If you've enjoyed this video, do visit Portfolio by Savills for future insights and trends in the property market.